Hey, what's up guys? Got another crash course for you today. Today we're going to be looking at Bulma, which is a modern CSS framework based on Flexbox. Now I know that there's a lot of frameworks out there to choose from, and me making this video does not equal me saying that Bulma is better or worse than anything else. Okay, a lot of people don't understand that when I make these videos, I'm not pushing a certain technology on anyone. I make them so that there's a reference guide for people that want to learn it or just check it out and see what it's about. So I'm not doing any comparison in this video to any other frameworks. We can do that in another video. This is just going to be a reference guide to just really simplify and look at the different elements and features that Bulma offers. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. This video is sponsored by Dev Mountain. If you're interested in learning web development, iOS, or UX design, Dev Mountain is a 12-week design and development bootcamp intended to get you a full-time job in the industry. To learn more, visit devmountain.com or click the link in the description below. Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Now, I already created a folder called Bulma Sandbox, and I just have an index.html file in there, and I have that open in Atom, which I'm using for my editor. I'm also using a package called Atom Live Server, and I have that running over here. You can see it's on my local host on port 3000, but you don't need this. You can simply open your index.html file right on your file system. Alright, I'm also using Emmet, which will allow me to type in, HTML tags and class names and stuff faster. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is just do an exclamation tab, and having Emmet installed, that allows us to just generate a quick HTML document. Okay, now as far as using Bulma, I'm going to take the easy way out and use the CDN. So I'm just going to search for Bulma CDN. Oops, I don't want caps lock. And let's see, we're going to get it from cdnjs.com. So we'll grab this link right here, and then we're just going to put that up here. Let's put a link tag and just paste that in. Now, as far as icons, Bulma doesn't have its own set of icons. It recommends to use Font Awesome. So let's look for the Font Awesome CDN as well. And let's see, grab it from here. And we're going to put that right above the Bulma CDN. So I'll just paste that in. Alright, so, and that's all we need to do to start using Bulma. So let's change the title here. We'll say Bulma Sandbox. And the reason I create these sandbox or cheat sheet files or HTML documents are so that you can have it as a reference. So if you're going to use Bulma for a website or a UI, you can have this to go back and easily see the class names and how everything's put together. I know you do have the documentation, but you have to switch between pages, and sometimes it can be, overcomplicated when it doesn't have to be. So this gives you a nice little reference. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do in the body here is I'm going to just create a container div. Okay, so I'm using Emmet, so I could just do .container tab, and that'll give us a div with the class of contain. This works just like it does in Bootstrap and most other frameworks. It'll add a margin auto and just kind of move everything to the middle. Okay, so let's look at some of the typography. So let's look at headings. Okay, I'm just going to put a comment for each section we do here. Alright, now each section we do, I'm going to wrap in a class or a div with the class of block, not lock, and that's a Bulma class, and what it does is it not only displays it as a block, but it gives it some margin on the bottom so we can kind of separate the different areas that we're working on. Alright, so I'm going to use that to wrap around every different section we do. So for headings, if I do an H1 here, and I'll just say hello world, and we save it, let's see, that should auto reload. There we go. Alright, so notice that the H1 is not big like it normally would be. That's because Bulma removes the standard font size for each of these tags. If I were to do an H2 right under it and save, it's the same size. So we use classes to change the size. Alright, but before we get into the size classes, let's look at title and subtitle. Okay, so basically we have two types of heading. Title is going to make it big like that, and then we also have subtitle, and that kind of lightens the font a little bit and makes it smaller. And if you use these two together like this, it's going to remove the padding in between, okay, which is usually what you want. Okay, so title and subtitle. Now let's take a look at some of the sizes. Okay, so just put a comment there, and let me just copy this. All right, so I'm just going to change these to H1 through H6. So that'll be 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, and if I save that, you'll see they're all the same size. So if I want to change, if I wanted to have the sizes for an H1 or the biggest type of heading, we could do a class called is1. Okay, and then for the H2, we could do is2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, and now if I reload, now it looks more like, you know, the H1 through H6. Now this doesn't matter, the tag doesn't matter. If I wanted the H3 to look like an H6, I could do is6, and now you can see the size reduces. Okay, let's put that back. So that's how we can add size to our headings. All right, so the next thing I'm going to look at is the content class. All right, let's put a class of block here. And we're going to just create a couple paragraphs. And I'm using Atom, so I can do lorem and then 10, and that's going to give us 10 words of dummy text. All right, and I'm just going to copy that, paste it in 3 more times, and save. So notice that by default, the padding is removed from the paragraphs. All right, but if I add a class of content, you see that it adds the padding there to the bottom. Now, what I'm going to do is add a class of is_small and save, and it's going to make the text smaller. Okay, and then if we go down here and we say class content, we can also do is_medium, and then we can do content and is_large. Okay, so just an easy way to kind of change up the size of the font. All right, so let's move on to buttons. So we'll go under this, and let's say buttons, and we'll have a block class here. And let's put in a simple button. So we'll do button, and I'm not going to add a class yet. If I save it, it's just going to look like a default HTML button. And what we want to do is add a class of button. Okay, and that'll kind of Bulma the button up. Okay, gives it some padding, gives it a border, hover effect. Now, there's a lot of different styles of buttons that we can use. So what I'll do is just copy this. Okay, and then for this one here, I'm going to add a class of is_white. For this one, I'm going to add is_light. Let's do is_dark, is_black, and is_link. Okay, and then it's going to give us these different shades. So is_white obviously is pure white. If I hover over it, it gives it a gray background. Is_light is going to give it a light gray background. Dark will give it a really dark gray. Black is obviously black, and then link just formats it to look like a link. Okay, so we have these different styles. Now we can also do colored buttons. For this, I'm just going to use an A tag because obviously you can apply these classes to just regular links as well. So let's give it a class of button, and then I'm also going to give it a class of is_primary. And then in here, let's just say primary. Okay, and the context classes are I think they're identical to Bootstrap, except we just have is-. So let's save that, and there we go. So it gives us this kind of this light green. All right, now I'm going to copy this, and then let's change these up. So this one is going to be info, and I'm going to change the class to is_info. This one will be is_success. This one will be warning, so is_warning. This will be danger, and is_danger. Save that, and you can see it gives us kind of the same colors as, or the same same basic colors, not the exact shade, but very similar to Bootstrap. All right, now we can also change up the size of buttons. So what I'll do is just copy this block, and I'm just going to add right here, we'll say is small, is medium, is large. Okay, save that, and you can see we can have different size buttons. Okay, we can also add an is outlined class. I'm going to copy this block here. And in addition to these classes, we'll add is outlined. Let's copy that, and we'll put that on these as well. And save. And that gives us these outlined buttons here. So it gives it the border, and then when we hover over it, then it fills in the color. Okay, we also have a class called is inverted. So let's copy this whole block, and paste that in. And I'm just going to change is outlined to is inverted. Okay, and then what that does is it gives it the text color of that particular context, and then when we hover over it, it has a gray background. I believe the warning has the black background by default because it's yellow and you can't really see it on white. I'm pretty sure that's why it's like that. All right, so we also have some different different button states. So let's go ahead and put in our block. And I'm going to use an A tag here. Let's give it a class of button. And I'm going to also give this a class of is-hovered. Okay, and here we'll say hovered. And let's copy that. Okay, and then we'll do focused. Oops. So this will be is focused. Then we have is active. And we have a loading state, so is loading. And then for this one, I'm actually going to remove is hovered and just add in disabled. And let's replace this with disabled. All right, so if we look down here, you'll see the different states. So hovered gives it a darker border and text. Focus has kind of this green. Active makes it even darker with some shadow. Loading, and then disabled. You know what I'm going to do is at the bottom of this, I'm going to just add a margin top just so this gets pushed up and you guys aren't looking at the bottom of the screen. So let's put a div, and I'm just going to add a style here real quick. So style margin top 500 pixels. All right, that way it can be in the middle of the screen. All right, so I think that's it for buttons really. Now let's move on to box. Okay, so we can have a box class, which is kind of like a well in Bootstrap. Or Bootstrap 3. Bootstrap 4 actually removed the wells. So let's create our block class, and then we're going to have a div with the class of box. And you can put anything you want in here. I'm just going to put an H1. And let's just say hello world. And then I'll just put in a paragraph with some dummy text. And that's what a box looks like. Okay, it gives it some padding, it gives it a border, gives it some shadow, and I believe that's a rounded border as well by default. All right, we also have notifications, which are kind of similar to blocks. Oops, got a Z in there. All right, so we'll have a div with the class of notification, and let's just put some dummy text in here. Save that, and that's what a notification looks like. It has a gray background by default. We can also put a delete button in there if it was like some kind of alert that you wanted to add some JavaScript to. So we could put a button with a class of delete, and you'll see it adds that little X to it. It's not going to do anything. You'd need to add your own JavaScript. Now we also have different colors we can do, so I'm going to copy the notification div. And then for the second one here, let's add is primary. Then we'll do is info, is success, is warning, and then let's do one more. And for this one, we're going to do is danger. Save that, and now you can see we have these different colored notifications. Alright, we can also do tags. Okay, so let's do a span, and I'm just going to give it a class of tag, and we'll just say hello. Alright, and it gives us this little thing right here. Okay, you would use this like at maybe on a blog post where you'd want to have some tags. And then there's a bunch of different colors we can use. I'm going to actually paste these in because there's quite a few. And we'll save that, and you can see we can have all these different colors. We can also change up the sizes. Like let's say for this one we wanted to do is large, and for this one we'll do is medium. We can do is small as well, but I believe it's the same as these. Alright, you'll see that we have medium and large tags now. We can also add delete buttons on the tags. So for instance, this one here, this last one, let's put a button with the class of delete. And whoop, let's put it after the text actually. There we go. So now we have this little X, and like I said, you could add your own JavaScript to close that out. Okay, another thing we can use is messages. So let's say messages, and we're gonna have, let's actually make this an article tag, and we're gonna give it a class of message. All right, and then inside the message we can have a message header. So let's give this a class of message dash header, and in here I'll just put a paragraph and I'll say about us, and then it's going to have a message body, and let's just put some dummy text in here and save, and that's what it looks like. Okay, it has this header with the different color and then the body. And we can use context classes or color classes on this as well. So I'm just going to copy the whole article, paste those in a few times, and let's see, we're going to add to the second one here, to the article tag with the class of message, we'll add is primary. This one we'll do is success, info, what else? Warning. And then let's do one more, which will be is danger. Alright, so we have all these different colors now. Now let's take a look at the navbar, which is always an important part of a framework. So we're going to go down here and let's put a comment. We'll say navbar. We'll put our block class. Alright, so for this we're going to use a nav tag, and it's actually going to have a class of nav, not navbar. And then it's going to have a couple different sections. It'll have nav left, nav center, and nav right. I actually like the way they do this. So let's do a class of nav left. And in here, we're going to do an A tag with the class of nav-item. Okay, pretty much everything is going to be looked at as a nav item. And this is going to be the brand or the logo. So I'm just going to do, let's do an H1, and we'll give it a class of title. And for the size, I'm going to do is 4, and then I'll just say Traversy Media. Alright, so that's the logo or the brand. And that's all I want on the left. So let's go under the left now. And we can actually put stuff in the center. So let's do a div with the class of nav center. Alright, and we're going to do another A tag with a nav item. And what I want to put here are two icons. We're going to put the GitHub icon and the Twitter icon. So inside the A tag, let's do a span with the class of icon. And then we're going to do an I tag with the class of FA and then FA-GitHub. Okay, and that's using Font Awesome. These are the Font Awesome class names. So we're going to copy this A tag and let's do another one. And this one is going to be for Twitter, so we'll just replace the GitHub with Twitter. Okay, and that's the center. Now let's do the right side. So this nav center ends right here. So we'll say dot nav right. And let's see, this is actually going to be the menu, okay, because we want some links. So this is also going to have a class of nav menu. All right, and in here we're going to have our first link, so it's going to be an A tag, again with nav item. Oops, that'll just go nowhere. And let's see, in here we'll just say home, and then we'll have a couple more. So we'll do home, we'll do about us, oops, and let's do contact. Alright, so let's go ahead and save that. And if we look down here, it's actually responsive right now, so let's make this bigger. Actually, no, I did something wrong here. What did I do? Oh, I put nar right. Should be nav right. There we go. Okay, so you can see we have our left, our center, and right. I actually like the way that they did this. I think it's really easy to remember. Because even with the Bootstrap navbar, if you're including like the collapsible menu and stuff, I couldn't type it out for you without looking. You guys know, whenever I'm using Bootstrap, I'll go to the Bootstrap docs and copy the navbar from the sample template. I still can't remember it. So this is pretty easy to remember. Now, as far as responsiveness, if I go down, you'll see the menu, the nav menu will automatically disappear, and there's no way for us to see it. All you have to do to make it responsive is add a class to the nav menu, which is right here. So we're going to add a class of isActive and save, and now you'll see that it's responsive. And if we make this bigger, it goes back to normal. Okay, no JavaScript needed. There is a way that you can use a hamburger menu, but I'm not going to get into that. We're not using any JavaScript at all. Bulma by default does not have, as far as I know, does not have JavaScript widgets like Bootstrap or Materialize. There are other third-party libraries that implement that kind of stuff, but not by default, as far as I know. All right, so now let's look at a vertical menu or a sidebar menu. So let's see, let's just fix that. I'm going to go under, I'm just going to put a comment here because this is the end of the container. All right, so we're going to go under here and let's do side menu. Okay, we'll do our block class. And let's see, we're going to use an aside tag for this and give it a class of menu. All right, and then let's do a paragraph with the class of menu label. Okay, and let's just put in here, we'll just say label 1. All right, and then under that, we'll have a UL with the class of menu list. And let's put some LIs here and an A tag. And we'll just say link 1. All right, so we'll have 2 links here. And if I save that, let's see, why isn't that showing up? The hell? Wait a second. Oh, I think that this is actually covering it. That's strange. I don't know why it's doing that. Let's remove the isActive actually. All right, just so we can see that. I don't know why that happens. I'm sure there's some way to fix it, but I'm not going to get into it. All right, so let's so we have the label, we have the 2 links. If we wanted to add another label, we could do that. So let's copy this and this. Okay, so this will be label 2, and then we could have sub menus as well. So let's give this link right here a class of isActive. All right, and then let's see. We'll go like that, and then under the link, we'll do a UL. And here we'll put some LIs with some A tags. And you can do as many levels as you want. And then we'll go outside of, let's see, so link 1. Let's see what that looks like. All right, so label 2, we have link 1, and this would be link 2, link 3. So you get the point. These are the same group, but this one has sublinks, and you can, like I said, do as many levels as you want. So that's a side menu or a vertical menu. All right, now let's take a look at hero banners, and these are usually large headings that go across the whole screen, and they have different color backgrounds or image backgrounds. So let's go right here. Say hero. All right, and these are going to be in section tags, which is an HTML5 tag, and they're going to have a class of hero. And for the hero, it's going to have a body, so let's give it a class of hero body. Okay, and let's see, in the body, usually what you would do is you'd add a container inside the body because you want the actual hero to go all the way across the screen. But in our case, everything's wrapped in a container, so it's not going to go across the whole screen anyway. But I will just put it here anyway, because that's what you would usually do. So let's put an H1 with the class of title, and we'll just say hero title. All right, and then let's also give it a subtitle, so we'll go directly under the H1 and do an H2 with the class of subtitle, like that, and let's save that. Now by default it doesn't have any background, but what we can do is copy this whole section and just paste it in a bunch of times, and let's go to the second one here, and we'll add is primary. So you can see you can use these classes on just about anything. Is success info danger, and there we go. So we have a bunch of heroes with different backgrounds. We also have cards that we can use, which are kind of like panels in a way. Bootstrap 4 uses cards. They're a little different though. So let's see, we'll do block, and let's do a class of card, and cards are going to have another div in here called card content, and you can format these in different ways. Let's see, so we'll put a paragraph here, we'll give it a class of title, put some dummy text in there. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, so it looks kind of like a box, and then we can have a footer as well, so we'll go under the card content. Sorry if you guys can hear that rain out there. This is actually going to be a footer with a class of card-footer. Okay, and then let's go ahead and put a paragraph with the class of card footer item. And these are actually going to be buttons, so let's put a Twitter and a Facebook button. So I'll say span, and let's say view on, and this will be Twitter, and then I'll grab that same p tag with the class of card footer item, paste that in, and let's say share on Facebook. Save that, and you can see it has a footer with these two areas here. And if you wanted to put icons here, you could do that. So if we put an I, the class of FA, and then the class of FA-Twitter, I think that will work. Save that. Get the little Twitter bird. FA Facebook. And you get a little Facebook icon. Probably look better without the view on and share on. Alright, so that's a card. And you can get more intricate with these. I would suggest, if you're interested, looking at the documentation, and you can see exactly what you can do. But I don't want to do things that are going to take up too much time and too much markup. So the next thing we're going to look at is pagination. Let's go down here and put a comment. We'll say pagination, let's put a block div here. Sorry about that banging upstairs. I don't know why. My kids just can't walk like normal people. They have to run back and forth, run everywhere they go. I don't understand. Alright, so let's put a nav tag here with a class of pagination. And we're going to do a previous button. And I actually like how they do this. You'll see in a minute. But let's give this we'll do an A tag with the class of pagination previous. Yeah, pagination previous. And I'm going to set this to disabled because we're going to be on the first page. So previous. And then right under that A tag, we'll put another one. And this one's going to have a class of pagination next. Okay, and that's going to say next page. And then we need a UL for the numbers. So the UL is going to have a class of pagination list. And then we'll have our LIs, we'll have our A tags, and each one is going to have a class of pagination link. So this will be 1. And then let's copy the whole LI, and we'll just do 2 more. And then I want the first one to be the one we're on, the active one, so that's going to also have a class of isCurrent. So let's go ahead and save that, and that's what it looks like. So if we make this bigger, which I kind of like this, they put the previous and the next page, they align it over here, which I think looks pretty cool. And just to show you what all this stuff looks like with a bigger screen, okay, everything's very, very responsive, which of course it has to be nowadays. If there was a framework that wasn't responsive by nature, it would just be garbage. Now, we're almost there. We're going to get into the grid system in a minute, but before we do that, I want to show you the level class, which also has to do with alignment and can be very helpful when you're building UIs like like a blog system backend or something like that. So let's say level. So this is actually going to be a nav, and it's going to have a class of level. And this is going to be the left side. Okay, so we're going to have a div here, and this is going to have a class of level-left. And we're going to have a bunch of paragraphs here, and they're going to have a class of level item. So this one we'll just say all, and then let's copy that. Alright, so this one, just imagine this is like a blog post interface type thing. So this will be published. Actually, we should probably have links around these. I'll just put, can't type. So published. Let's just put an A tag around each one of these. Alright, so published, and this next one will be draft. And let's say deleted. And then let's make this one into a button. So we'll add a class here of button. Just to give you some examples, change things up. We'll say is primary. And let's say this is new. So this is to create a new post. Okay, and let's say we're on the all page or the all view, so I'm going to just wrap that in a strong. Alright, so if I save that, now this is the responsive view. Let's make this bigger, and you'll see it's going to align over to the left. So let's say on the right side we want like a filter or a search box. So what we would do is go under the level left class, and let's say right side. So for this we'll have a div with the class of level right. Okay, and let's say another div with level item. Okay, it works kind of like the nav bar and how you have, nav right, nav item. It breaks it down nice and simple as far as the class names. And we're just going to do a simple form field, and that's another thing we need to get to is forms. So after this, we'll do forms, tables, and then the grid system. All right, so let's do a div with the class of field, and a paragraph tag with the class of control. This is all part of forms, which we'll get into. And then we'll do an input, and the input, we'll give it a class of input. And let's also do is success. Actually, no, we don't want to do a success. Just that should be good. So let's save that, and then we just have an input. Let's put a placeholder, and we'll just say search posts. All right, and you can see now it's nicely aligned to the right. Okay, so I think that's kind of cool and kind of unique when it comes to, you know, other frameworks. All right, so let's do forms before we get to the grid system. So we'll go down here. Okay, so we're going to have a form tag. And let's see, we're going to have a div with the class of field, just like we did above. And then let's do a label. And the label will have a class of label. Oops. I'm not going to use the for attribute. And let's just say name. Oops. And then under that, we'll have our input with the class of input. And we'll just put a placeholder. Sorry about the noise upstairs. Whoops. And we'll just say enter name. Why do I keep hitting the damn caps lock? All right, so there's a simple label and input. Now we can use colors for the inputs as well, and this is usually something you would use for like form validation. For instance, if you had an error, like if something was required and you didn't add it, you could add the is danger class and so on. So if I just copy this div, and we'll just add on to the input here where it has the class of input, we'll say is let's do is primary. Actually, you'd probably use like is success. And then for this one, we'll say is danger. All right, you'll see that just colors up the borders. And then I'm just going to paste in a simple select field. Let's separate these up a little bit. And I'll paste that in. So div with the class of field, label, same thing, paragraph with the class of control, and then we have a span with the class of select around the actual select tag, and then some options. So save that, and that's what a default drop down or select list is going to look like. All right, and then we'll go under that, and let's paste in a text area. Okay, so pretty much identical to the standard input. We're just using a text area tag. All right, and it looks like that. Now we can also add attached form elements. For instance, sometimes you'll see an input and you'll see the button like right to the right, but kind of attached to it. So let me show you how to do that. So let's see, we'll go right down here and we'll just say attached. And let's put our block class. All right, and we're going to have a div here with the class of field. And then we also want a class of has-add-ons. And in here we'll have our control class on a paragraph. Okay, and this will be, let's put our input, and this is going to have a class of input. And let's just add a placeholder here. So this will be like a search box, so we'll just say enter keywords, and then right under that paragraph with the class of control, we're going to create another one, and let's put a tag in here with the class of button, and then also let's do is info. Whoops, what the hell? What did I do there? I need to put another, need to connect it like that. And then in here we'll just say search. All right, so let's save that. And now if we look, you'll see that we have kind of the input and the search are attached together. And we can attach other things too. So for instance, let's say we wanted to have like an amount. You put an amount of money in and you can choose the currency on this side and then have the button. So let's try that. So again, you know what I'll do is just copy this. Alright, and then let's see, this first control, actually we'll just put one right above it. Okay, so in here we're going to have a span with the class of select, because I want this to be a select, and then the actual select tag itself. We don't need that stuff. And we'll put option, and actually, you know what, I'm going to just paste this in because I want the different currencies. Okay, so we have the 3 different currencies, and then let's see, for this one, let's change it to enter amount. And then we'll have the button and we'll say pay. Okay, and now you can see we have the little select with the currencies, we have the input, and we have the pay button. So pretty easy. Alright, so I think that's going to do it for forms. Now before we get into the grid, I just want to look at tables. Alright, so for the table, I'm going to paste in just a very simple table with a name, email, and phone number. Alright, and I'm sure a lot of you recognize these names. They're from one of the best shows in history. So let's go ahead and save that, and that's what a default table looks like without any classes or anything. So what I'm going to do is add a class to the table called table, and that changes it up a little bit, adds some padding, adds some borders, a hover effect, and it makes it look nice and clean. So we have a bunch of table classes we can add. Instead of just going through them here, I'm going to just copy this table, because again, I want you guys to have this as a reference rather than just showing you. So let's paste in another one, and I'm going to give this also a class of is striped and save, and that just makes it so that every other one is darker. Okay, and this is similar to the Bootstrap striped class or table striped class. Okay, let's see. We also have is bordered. Save that, and that just gives them a border. You see we have these vertical borders as well. And then we have another one called is narrow. So we'll paste that in, and we'll add is narrow, and that just makes them skinnier. Okay, and you can mix and match the classes as well. For instance, I could put on this is striped, and now we have both styles. Okay, and if you wanted to select a certain row, you could do that as well. So let's say we'll go into the let's just go to this. No, we'll go to the first one we did, and let's say we want to highlight Darrow. So we'll go into the TR here, and we'll say class, and there's a class called is selected. Save that, and now you'll see Darrow has a green background. Alright, so those are tables. So last thing we're going to look at is the grid system, which is very important in any framework. So let's go down to the bottom here. Alright, so let's start off by making columns that we want all to be the same width. Okay, and remember, this uses Bulma uses Flexbox behind the scenes. So what we'll do here is create a div with the class of columns, which is kind of like a row class in Bootstrap and many other frameworks. And then we'll have a div with the class of just column, and then we can put whatever we want in here. I'm going to put a paragraph with the class of notification, and we'll just say first column. Okay, so if we save that and we take a look, you'll see we have a single column, and that's fine. If we wanted to do just one column, that's okay. But let's go ahead and copy this, paste it in again, and this will be the second column, and you'll see it splits in half. And this is very easy, and there's very minimal markup. Paste in another one, this will be the third column, save that, breaks up into 3, do another one, and this will be fourth column, and we don't even have to have any kind of special classes or anything. And where this really comes in handy is if you're working with you know, a programming language like, I don't know, PHP or any programming language really, where you want to loop through something coming from a database like blog posts, and you want to put them into a column, but you don't have the set number of posts that are coming in, so you can't really add the, you know, specific classes for each one. And this is very, very I guess scalable, so that, you know, it doesn't matter how many posts you have, it's still going to be formatted correctly. All right, you're not going to have, you know, weird floated columns and stuff like that, like you would with you know, with Bootstrap 3 or some kind of column grid system that doesn't use Flexbox. Now, if you want different sizes using a 12 column grid, that's really simple as well. So what I'll do here is let's just copy this block, and let's see. So what I'll do is, let's see, I want 3 of these because I'm gonna have 2, 8, 2. Okay, so this first column here is going to be 2 wide, so I'm going to say is 2. Second one here will be 8, so let's do is dash 8, and then we'll do is dash 2 again. All right, so this will be 2 column, 8 column, and 2 column. Save it, and it's as easy as that. Okay, if we wanted to do like a main area and a sidebar, we could do just 8 and 4, or whatever combination you want, and it's really easy. Now, another thing we can do is we can use class names like is 3/4 or is 2/3, things like that. So let me give you an example of that. I'm just going to copy this block again. All right, and let's see. I'm going to do, let's take this first column and let's say is 3/4. And we'll just put in here is 3/4. And then for these ones, we're just going to leave. But I'm going to take off this last one. All right, and these are going to be auto size, so I'll just say auto. All right, we'll save that. And there we go. So this one is 3/4, and these ones are going to be auto. We could also do is 2/3. So if we copy this, and let's change this to is 2/3. Save that, and we get this this length here. We could also do is half. Okay, save that, and see, this takes up half, and then the rest are auto-sized. And there's other ones as well, other class names that you can check out if you look at the documentation. All right, so I think that's gonna do it, guys. You can see there's a lot of stuff here that you can use as a reference if you want to build a website or a UI. I do plan on building an actual template using Bulma as well as Materialize CSS. I just wanted to get the crash courses out there first. I like to do those first just so you have a basic reference, and then later on we'll make a video actually using the frameworks. All right, so thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it. If you watch this whole thing, please subscribe, please leave a like. And another thing, guys, I don't like to mention it too often, but I do have a Patreon account where you guys can directly support me, and even $1 a month, if we get that from enough people, I can start to do YouTube completely full time. I've been doing it quite a bit lately, but my goal is to do it full time and be able to have a sustainable income that way, and keep this stuff free. I'm a big supporter of free education in general, so I like to put this stuff out for free, in addition to the couple courses that I do per year. All right, thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you next time.